Okay, yeah, medical marijuana. You might remember back in May when Vice President Joe Biden went on Meet the Press to talk about equality, marriage equality in the United States. Here's what Joe Biden had to say.
I am absolutely comfortable with the fact that men marrying men, women marrying women, and heterosexual men and women marrying men are entitled to the same exact rights, all the civil rights, all the civil liberties. And quite frankly, I don't see much of a distinction beyond that.
Now, keep in mind, President Obama had not said anything like that. So whether he meant to or not, by coming out in support of marriage equality before the president had, Joe Biden forced President Obama's hand, and just 3 days later, Obama himself was ready to make the same proclamation. Here it is.
For me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
And with that, the president pulled the United States into the 21st century, endorsing equal rights to married couples regardless of their sexual orientation. He also picked up a lot of support, both money, volunteers, and votes from the LGBT community. So thanks, Vice President Joe Biden. But now it's time for the president to stand up for another important issue. And just like the way the vice president, Joe Biden, forced President Obama's hand on marriage equality, a different vice president, or I should say a vice presidential nominee, may be forcing his hand on this issue too. Paul Ryan was in Colorado recently, a state that's poised to become the first in the nation to legalize and regulate pot. And Ryan was asked by a local news affiliate what his views were on medical marijuana. And here's what he had to say.
One of those questions you wanted him to answer was about medical marijuana. Medical marijuana is a hot-button issue here in Colorado and across the nation.
It's up to Coloradans to decide.
So even though federal platform says marijuana is illegal, you're saying...
Look, my personal position on these issues have been let the states decide what they want to do with these things.
Let the states decide. As in, if the states vote to legalize medical marijuana, then Paul Ryan is okay with that. That makes vice presidential nominee Paul Ryan the first candidate for the executive branch in the history of the United States to say that the feds should stop their crackdown on medical marijuana when it's legalized by the states. It also puts Ryan at odds with both President Obama, who has used his Department of Justice to crack down on medical marijuana facilities that are legally operating under state laws, and at odds with his own presidential candidate, Mitt Romney. But back to President Obama. President Obama's Justice Department has conducted nearly 200 raids on marijuana facilities, roughly the same number conducted during George W. Bush's 8 years in office. Obama's been in office fewer than 4. And those raids have occurred in 9 of the 16 states, plus the District of Columbia, that have already passed medical marijuana law, leading to 61 federal indictments, all since October of 2009. So somehow the president has allowed Paul freaking Ryan to get the jump on him on an issue with huge support among America's younger voters, particularly those who think that they're libertarians. I make this joke, libertarians are Republicans who want to smoke dope and get laid. Well, here you go. Which means it's time for the president to have a Joe Biden moment, to wake up and change course on this issue. The election itself might be at stake. I mean, consider this. There are 2 third-party candidates running this election who could each pull a lot of votes from Americans who are upset with Nixon's failed drug war, in particular the crackdown on medical marijuana. Both Gary Johnson with the Libertarian Party and Jill Stein with the Green Party support legalizing medical marijuana. And between the two of them, Gary Johnson and Jill Stein are polling at around 5% right now. And right now, the Romney-Ryan ticket may be peeling off those voters because Ryan has come out in favor of federal decriminalization of medical marijuana. That's a hell of a lot of votes. And considering presidential elections are rarely decided by a 5% split, then it's politically important. It's vital for President Obama to make a play for some of those supporters. He should come out and just say, okay, if a state wants to have medical marijuana, we're not going to go into that state and bust people. I mean, politically, it's the right thing to do, and morally, it's the right thing to do. Medically, it's the right thing to do. So one of the best ways he can do that right now is by right now coming out in full support of medical marijuana and ordering his Justice Department to stop any future crackdowns. This is really a no-brainer. A recent poll shows that 74% of Americans want the president to respect state laws when it comes to medical marijuana. Only 15% of Americans agree with the president that federal resources should be used to crack down on medical marijuana. If the president thinks he can afford to ignore these polls or let Paul Ryan scoop up the medical marijuana vote, then in my humble opinion, he is making one huge mistake.